he was the prod who convinced me to go to the Senate, because I had told my governor after that election, the governor-elect, to be precise, my brother did, that we were going to appoint someone else. I didn't want to go to the Senate. And it was your brother who came to see me to tell me that I owed it to my deceased wife and my children, at least to be sworn in and stay for at least 6 months. And when I got to the Senate, he would literally come by once or twice a week to my office in the middle of the afternoon, and I didn't want to be there. I wanted to get the hell home. I didn't want to be around. And John, he took me for the first time I ever went to the Senate gym. He'd come by and he'd take me to the Senate gym. I'll never forget the first time he took me. I hadn't met any of these famous players. I got sworn in late compared to the other senators. I'll never forget walking into the Senate gym and him introducing me to Senator Jack Javits and Warren Magnuson, both of whom were stark naked when I met them. And I remembered, oh my God, Senator, how are you? But he never, he sort of took on the role of being my older brother. He just was there all the time, and I never asked. And I never could really understand, to tell you the truth, at first. I didn't understand why he was going out of his way for me this way. He got me on the committees that I ended up chairing. He was sort of my tutor, sort of exposing this kid from Scranton to a world that I had never seen and didn't fully understand. I used to go home every night in the beginning. I went home every night for 36 years, but I went home every night as soon as Senate was out. And I never once accepted any invitation in Washington, not out of a desire not to be in Washington. I just wanted to get home. After one afternoon, Teddy came to my office and said, Joe, look, I got to give you a piece of advice. He said, I got a call from Pamela Harriman. This is the 4th invitation you've gotten from Governor Harriman to come to one of his dinners. Now, I didn't know enough to know that that was a big deal. I really didn't. I honest to God didn't. And he said, Joe, you've got to go. You've got to go. It just doesn't look good. I'll go with you. And I'll never forget going into Averell Harriman's home in Georgetown and sitting he was sitting in a armchair, a wing chair. I was on a couch next to the chair nearest Averell Harriman. Teddy was next to me. Henry Kissinger was across from me, and Paul Warnke, both arms control experts. And I was this 30-year-old kid, and Averell Harriman had a way of sort of trying to include everybody in the conversation. They were talking about a complicated arms control agreement. It used to be the SALT agreement, and this discussion was going on. And all of a sudden, Averell Harriman looked at me and he said, well, Joe, what do the young people think about this? I didn't know what the hell to say, John. I was scared to death. I didn't want to make a fool of me. Here I was, a United States Senator. So I reached over and picked an object up off the coffee table. And I was nervous, and I was flipping it back and forth in my hands like this as I answered the question. And I noticed everyone stiffened up when I was talking. And the butler came in and said, time for dinner, and everybody immediately got up and bolted for the dinner table. And your dad grabbed my arm and he said, God damn it, put that thing down. He said, that costs more than your house. I was flipping a Fabergé egg in my hands. So the sophisticated kid from Delaware, it seemed like every single thing I did, he was there. When my character was under attack, I sat with the committee and said, maybe I shouldn't chair this committee till this gets settled. And your father stood up and said, no, you stay right where you are. And I said, well, let me explain. And he said before 10 of my colleagues, he said, we know you. You don't have to explain a single thing. And walked out of the conference room. We walked back into the hearing. You have no idea what that meant to me at that moment. because my character had never, ever, ever been questioned.